Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome to the channel if you're new. A couple weeks ago, I posted a video reflecting on self-love and what it has meant to me on my journey, and I really prayed that that video would reach others who maybe needed to hear a message like that, and it's just gotten so many views in the past 2 weeks, so many comments of people who that message really resonated with, and today I want to actually answer a subscriber question that I got. And this is another one of those messages where if this video reaches you, I hope that this is something that you have been needing to hear or maybe have been reflecting on yourself. This is one that's really, really close to my heart. So let's take a look at the question and dive right in. Blah Blah Bloom asked, I've been experiencing sober life for 6 months now, and for me it means that I have to go home from social events much earlier than before. I realize that I like being with people for an intensive, deep, but short time. The consequence is that I want to leave after approximately 2.5 hours from, for example, a birthday party, even if it's my best friend. That hurts, and I'm afraid that my friends don't like that about me. But I know that staying there longer means that I will have social hangover the next day. It's very, very, very difficult to stay with my new need to leave early. While this question is specific to sobriety, stick with me because the answer is much bigger than drinking or not drinking. Today's message is actually really simple. Leave the party early. So many of us have trained ourselves to be just such people pleasers. And I am very guilty of this as well. In general, many of us consider the needs of other people much higher than we consider the needs of ourselves. So much so that even the subscriber who can reflect and acknowledge that, hey, I need to leave early because if I don't, I will have a social hangover the next day, which is something that's so real. I absolutely get those too. But then that's immediately followed with, well, I'm afraid that I'm going to hurt someone's feelings. I'm afraid that my friends don't like me for that. And while this is sort of one very specific example when it comes to sobriety and going to parties and sort of being at social events, you can apply this to basically anything in your life. Agreeing to help people with things where you don't have the time or energy to. Saying yes to commitments that you actually have no interest in and know that you won't enjoy. Staying late at parties and social events even though you're exhausted or socially worn out or just want to be home in bed. In so many areas of our life, we compromise on our own boundaries to please other people or to protect other people's feelings, but we never give ourselves that same level of grace. And I feel like this folds directly into kind of the self-love video that I did a couple weeks ago, which I'll link down below if you want to watch that one. But this whole contradiction that we don't treat ourselves as we do our friends, our loved ones, our partners. We're often sort of last in line. And what do I need to show up, at my best and enjoy myself and protect my peace? And this is something that, especially in sobriety, became a very real practice for me. I was definitely a people pleaser when I was still drinking, but when I quit drinking alcohol, especially in social situations, but when you quit drinking, your tolerance for doing things that you don't enjoy goes down dramatically. The reality is when you're drinking, you're turning your brain down and it becomes a lot easier to talk to people that you don't like, kind of stay at events longer than you want to. You're not really in touch with how tired you are or how you're gonna feel tomorrow. You can have crappy conversations all night and it makes it easier to do things that you don't really enjoy doing. If you pull alcohol out of the equation and you are at a social event completely sober, completely present, it takes a lot more out of you because you are super present. Suddenly you need to have conversations that are actually interesting, otherwise you're bored out of your mind. Like the subscriber already reflected, you have sort of more intensive, deep conversations and connections with people, which are so meaningful, but also take a lot more energy than having sort of drunk, rambling conversations that no one's gonna remember the next day. Especially if you're around other people who are drinking at the party, once everyone starts to reach a certain level of intoxication, that's my cue to go to, because I don't really enjoy talking to drunk people anymore. The difficult part then is that you have to then start standing up for yourself and your needs. And I'm not gonna sugarcoat that. That takes a lot of practice. Learning that no is a complete sentence and you can just say no even to your best friends. You can say no and stay home from an event entirely just because you're not feeling up to it. And you can absolutely leave the party early if you have had enough and have enjoyed yourself and now it's time to go home. So I'll show up as my best, hang out, give it my all, really connect with all the people that I care about in the room. And now, with practice, because it wasn't always like this at the beginning, now I'm very confident and comfortable saying, okay, I've had enough. This is where I have to draw the line, otherwise I'm going to regret it tomorrow. Something that I was not great at doing when I was drinking. And then I say my goodbyes and I peace out. Now here's the thing, especially in the beginning, I really worried about how my friends felt about not just my sobriety, but how it changed the way that I showed up in our friendships, at social events, that kind of thing. The thing that I was actually worried about wasn't my sobriety, but how are my friends going to feel if I stand up for myself and my boundaries? How are my friends going to feel if I start leaving early because I don't want to hang out anymore? How are my friends going to feel when I prioritize activities and events that are something that we can do present that don't revolve around drinking anymore? And the thing is, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter what your friends think, what your partner thinks, what your family thinks. It is about you and what makes you the happiest. If your loved ones have a problem with you protecting your peace in whatever way that looks for you specifically, unfortunately, that's a them problem. One of the greatest gifts of sobriety, in my opinion, is this sort of realization that, I matter, my needs matter, and it is my responsibility to prioritize those, communicate those, and enforce those for myself. And if there are people who can't respect that, then I also need to be content with letting them down, because that reflects on them and not on me. And I just want to say, while this sounds very dramatic, my loved ones were nothing but absolutely supportive of not only my sobriety, but the way that I changed socially to protect and prioritize my sobriety. And while I had so much stress about, saying no to things and leaving early and saying goodbye and calling it a night, I would work myself up so much before communicating and saying no thank you. And, I was always like, no worries, totally understand, love you, I'll see you next time. And I say this in so many of my videos, while it's uncomfortable in the beginning, all of these things, sticking up for your boundaries, saying no, going through new events sober, but every time you do it, you strengthen that muscle and it becomes easier and easier as you do it more. So whether you are working on your sobriety and are kind of dealing with a similar issue to this subscriber, or you are just a people pleaser who maybe relates to this kind of situation, I want you to challenge yourself in the next week or month or whenever it comes up to prioritize your needs and say no to an event or an activity or anything that you really don't feel like doing. It doesn't have to be any grand reason either. Or leave an event early when you've had enough, even if no one else has any sign of slowing down for the night. You deserve to prioritize your needs. And this is such a key element of the self-love kind of reflection that I had last time, where you really need to treat yourself with love like a parent would or a best friend would. It's amazing to have people in your circle who support you and love you, but if you don't support and love yourself on the inside, it won't matter what anyone else says. That needs to start from the inside. And those baby steps, like leaving a birthday party early and saying thanks so much for having me, I had such a great time, but I really need to go home now, just so you can go home and take a bath and get in bed early to avoid a social hangover the next day, is a huge step in the right direction. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes, and the more you'll realize that you're creating a life with all of those little decisions that aligns with your priorities, the things that you want out of your life, and the things that you value. So leave the party early, say no more, and really reflect on the things that you want for your life, which actually doesn't involve anyone else's opinion. I know that this can be really hard, but you can do hard things, and you deserve to make decisions that allow you to live your best life. That's it for today's video. I so appreciate you being here. If you did make it to the end, give this video a thumbs up, check out my other videos. Whether you're on your sobriety journey or just kind of looking for wellness reflections, I encourage you to engage in the comments, share your experiences, share your reflections. Community is the antidote to shame. And so every time people share the things that they're struggling with or a win, we all get to be stronger together. And this is a topic I think that so many people can probably relate to. So I hope this video finds you when you needed to hear something like this. I'm sending you all my love whenever you're watching this. Hopefully I will see you in a future video, and until then,